me. Her name is Roberta. She is a fellow health coach. For those who don't know who I am, my name is Erica. I am a wellness coach here. I'm a nurse as well as an aromatherapist and a Reiki specialist. So I kind of help clients very holistically through all aspects of their life to create them the life that they've always wanted and desired. So how I do it is I work one-on-one with clients through Zoom, and also I have an in-person studio at 57th Street in New York on the Upper West Side. So if you are ever in the mood to get a Reiki service or an in-person health coaching service, please let me know. I would love to support you in your wellness journey. And yeah, so we're just going to wait a few minutes while Roberta is trying to join us. Today we are going to be talking through the basics around women's health, hormones, and what it means to be a woman, and how these really important little hormones in our body can sort of affect and sometimes wreak havoc if they are out of order or are not functioning in their desired state. I know we talk a lot about on my lives and also in my clients that, when we look at our body, while we sometimes can think that it is, when we look at lab results, they can be what they're considered, what they're okay from a conventional medicine service. But when we're really looking at optimal, our range is a little bit smaller. And that's because functional medicine really is about, making sure that you're working at an optimal speed. So making sure that everything is the best that it can be. And sorry, I'm pausing just a little bit, trying to get Roberta on. She's having a little bit of difficulty, so please bear with me while we're trying to get her connected here. So if I'm feeling a little distracted, I'm just trying to make sure that she is able to join us, because I think this conversation will be very informative, and it will be a well worth the wait. So thank you so much for being a little patient with us. Technology these days is always challenging, and so we have to be a little bit of grace and a little bit of adaptability. Let me just check to make sure that she can connect. So just give me 1 second. So I can, while we're trying to wait for her to connect, I can tell you a little bit about her. So Roberta is a fellow health coach. She works with midlife women and health and wellness. She does a signature of Menopause Mojo is what she calls it. And it is a tool for people to navigate their physical, emotional, and lifestyle changes, and to be able to regain her control and thrive. And so we've met together because we've worked on a few different menopause events through the course of New York. And I've actually gone to Plano, Texas a couple of times to do these events. If you are interested and you're in the New York area, I am hosting a menopause event on next Saturday. Oh my goodness, days of the week. Next Saturday on the 31st. The tickets are in my bio. It should be a really fun event. I'm hosting it with a life and wellness center. And what we're doing is we're going to go through some menopause myth busting. We're going to do some Q&A. We're going to do an NLP, which is neuro-linguistics programming technique to anchor, which essentially just means like giving you a resource so that you can feel better in the moment and kind of being able to rewire your brain in the moment. So it's kind of this tool that I use a lot with my clients when they're trying to feel a certain emotion or want to, feel a different way when they're navigating through life. And then we're wrapping that event up with a love letter as well as a breathing technique and exercise. So if you would like more information about that, please let me know. I'm very excited about it, and I think it's going to be a really fun event. Again, that's next Saturday on the 31st at 11 a.m. to 1, and it's with the Life Wellness Center, which is in Brooklyn. So please, please, please come join me. Since we're still waiting for Roberta. We'll see if she can able to join, but I obviously want to, she just joined. Thank goodness. Right into things. From the way I like to look at health, especially across a woman's especially when it comes to women's health. Hi, Roberta.
Hey, how you doing? I'm sorry, wasn't
It's
connecting at first.
okay. That's okay. I already introduced you. I was just going to get started, just to sort of, I know people are joining and time is precious. So I was just kind of jumping in. Obviously, you can introduce yourself. I told everyone a little bit about you, but if you would like to take just a couple of seconds just to say hi, that would be great.
Okay, so my name's Roberta Morris, and I am a health coach or a wellness coach. My website is Roberta M. Uh, Redefining Midlife. I work with women going through the transition through menopause. We talk about the various issues. We talk about how we can control the symptoms and any future things or maladies or illnesses or issues that might come up. It's a very difficult time. We need to get the information out there for women to understand what they're going through.
Yes, totally agree. And I tell everyone about some of our events. So if anyone is looking forward to joining one of them in the future, please reach out to us. But let's get started while you all are here. So what we're talking about today is our hormones basics. So we're kind of going to do a part one and then a part two later on. And today is really focusing on what the hormones are in our body as women, sort of our experience of navigating this women's health, because I think the reason why Roberta and I really wanted to share this information was that I honestly didn't really understand my own body and my own health as I was going through it until I did the science and until I became a health coach, because no one really teaches it to you. No one really goes through that as you're like going through these different phases of whether it's puberty, fertility, or menopause. Like no one really talks about it. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to get a little bit on the surface. And then obviously our part two will be much more specific into each of those phases. But for today, we'll just kind of talking about um, how the basics. So I'm not sure if you want to kick it off, Roberta, around, starting from the beginning. Like I'm curious, like how your experience was going through puberty and through those different transitions. Like, did your doctor give you an explanation about sort of what hormones were, how it all worked, or were you
Nothing,
also similarly in the
nothing.
dark to me?
I actually, obviously, I grew up at a time then when there was even less known, and it was totally taboo to talk about menopause, or even starting with getting your period. Uh, no one discussed it. No one told me what I could expect, what might possibly happen. It was a mystery. My own mother didn't discuss it. My grandmother, it was just a taboo subject. From the time that you're in puberty until you're postmenopause, your bodies are shifting and you go through different phases. And this is just, you need to be able to understand what's going out there. We need to get the information. We need to be able to have support with one another. Um, and explain.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, I don't know if this was similar. It sounds like it might have been a similar thing for you, but when I was going through puberty, I was put on birth control. And the reason that I was put on birth control is they're like, oh, it's for acne, it's for, I forget, like your mood swings or whatever it was. And, it's the same thing. It's totally safe. Don't worry about it. And what I didn't actually understand is that I didn't understand the way it worked because no one really explained, like, this is your cycle. It's going to impact your ovulation. It's going to also make it so that, like, your uterus lining never actually fully forms. And, like, the ramifications of that is that you're going to have extra estrogen floating around your system or progesterone, which, again, we'll dive into, like, what that really means a little bit later on of having that extra
Right.
synthetic hormone in your body. But I felt like almost a disservice because now going back and understanding what it did, I feel like I would have liked to have had more information to understand what it was actually doing. Like while I was having acne and while I was having, these mood swings, like there were other avenues that I could have gone down possibly or had different sort of support. And I wish I would have known more.
Mhm.
And maybe it wasn't the right time. And I respect that because little old, I don't know, like 18-year-old Erica probably wasn't at the point to really like understand it. But I think it's important to have those conversations as they never really happen. And people just kind of assume it. And it was like probably like a couple years ago when I started to really do this work that I actually didn't realize that the period that you get when you're on birth control isn't really a period because you're not really creating a lupus. Like I was like, whoa, I had no idea.
I never went, well, I shouldn't say never. I went on to birth control when I was much older, maybe getting towards the end. Even I may have even been in perimenopause at that point, but I didn't know it. And I thought I was having other kinds of issues. And my doctor never stopped to take the time to say, well, you may be in perimenopause. You may be having other
Yes.
issues that we're just not exploring. He just said to me, it's a good time to go on birth control. It'll regulate everything in your body. And he was totally wrong. Um,
Yeah.
I I couldn't understand what I was going through when I was actually going through my period all those years. I didn't have many problems. I had some, but not many problems. So I guess I was fortunate in that respect. So I never felt the need to go on anything. Um, you know, I, and the truth is that my husband had history, what do they call it when they get the snip, snip,
Oh,
snip?
oh, the
Uh,
vasectomy.
yeah. So
I
I
love
didn't
that. A
have to
nice
worry
snip
about
snip.
getting pregnant after I had my two
Very
boys.
medical.
I drew a blank. Sorry. So
No, that's okay.
I didn't really feel the need to go on birth control until much later on. But that was a mistake. Knowing now what I know, it was a complete mistake.
Yeah, and it's interesting that, as you go through perimenopause, like it's kind of similar to puberty. And I think you and I have kind of created that sort of like link is like your hormones, like the first time that you're introduced to like all your hormones, like the estrogen, the progesterone, the testosterone, really like in full form is during puberty, which is why all of us kind of go a little nuts and people, I think there's like a rule, there's like some saying that I honestly feel like always happens of like, oh, she's just PMSing, like she's just having a day. And like you used to hear that because, you're having all of these hormones and no one really talks to you about it of why. So you're just feel a little crazy for a little while. And the same sort of thing happens in perimenopause because it's the second time that your body's going through this, change in hormone levels. Like they're changing, they're fluctuating, things are dropping. And so it's the second time that you feel sort of back at puberty. I haven't been through perimenopause, but the women that I've talked to, and Roberta, you can obviously talk a little bit more about it. It kind of feels like another shock of like, oh my gosh, what is going on? Like I thought like what is going like I thought I was done with all of this. I already went through puberty.
Yeah, I mean, all of a sudden you start to feel the brain fog. You can't really recall certain details, and and if you don't understand that this could be a typically normal symptom that you feel during menopause or perimenopause, I should say, then you might think that there are other health issues that have suddenly come up, such as dementia or Alzheimer's, but it's not necessarily that. It's just brain fog. You start experiencing hot flashes and night sweats, and oh my God, that's horrible. And I was lucky. I didn't really have many hot flashes. It didn't last too long with me. I watched my mother go through a very difficult time, and I had a friend who walked around with a fan, literally, one of
Yeah.
those little fans, portable fans, so that she could just pull it out anytime she felt a hot flash. So it's a very awakening experience. You don't know what to expect, and if nobody's willing to explain it to you or share their own experiences, you're totally in the dark. you know
Yeah.
yeah. uh,
Yeah, exactly.
One thing
And
that
it
yeah
yeah, go ahead.
no, I was going to say one thing that I definitely went through is osteoporosis. I'm at a point where I'm now getting the injections twice a year rather than just taking the pills because it's gotten that bad. So there are certain things that women do go through as a result of menopause, fluctuating hormones, and you just don't know what to expect. That is probably the
Yeah.
one thing that bothered me the most is
Yeah.
the osteoporosis.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty crazy, and we can kind of talk about each little hormone individually. Like, I think the first big one that with all the symptoms that you already mentioned is that estrogen, because unlike puberty, which again, the commonality is just like a time that you're the commonality that we pulled is just it's just a time that your body is fluctuating again. Um, but they're very different in the way it appears because during puberty your hormones are sort of increasing and during menopause everything is sort of dropping and perimenopause and it's trying to it's dropping, it's just kind of coming off. And estrogen is one of those big hormones that we have in female bodies. And I think the thing is that it kind of connects to everything that goes on in our bodies. It's connected in our brain, it's connected in our body regulation, it's connect our temperature regulation, it's connected in bone. And so like when that falls, you're sort of stuck with all of these ramifications, whether it's those hot flashes, whether it's osteoporosis, the brain fog, as well as like people like we've talked about the fact that like people even experience things like ringing in the ear and body odor and
That's me.
all those
That's
yeah
me.
all those things again
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and bloating and weight
Yeah.
change. And
Yes.
it's because your body runs as a female on estrogen, and when you're losing it it's kind of goes a little crazy.
Yeah, it does. It does. Again, you can suddenly be hit with a hot flash while you're out, and you everything is going well. You could be at some kind of important event or just having a good time, and then all of a sudden you're hit with a hot flash, and you just don't know
Yeah,
what to do. So yeah, we need to get that information out there. We need to be able to share this with other women so that we can open up the conversation. They can open up the conversation
yeah,
and have a better transition.
yeah,
I know when,
yeah. and it
yeah,
and it
no, go ahead.
and so and it makes sense also to like talk about like when you're on birth control, like something that I actually didn't put two and two together until doing the research is because you're adding more estrogen into your system, you have the more likelihood of having things like breast tenderness and
Yes,
like irritability and
yes,
bloating because estrogen again
yes.
it kind of controls things. So too high causes symptoms and too low causes symptoms. So we really want to figure out the optimal range for our body to function at the way that we want it to. And so while birth control will help you in certain areas, if your estrogen may be too low, like to start out with, it might help like increase that estrogen level synthetically. But also having too low of an estrogen can all, if you're not in perimenopause, could also be linked to other hormonal imbalances like thyroid, like insulin resistance and cortisol and all those other things like big things that we see as health coaches like all the time can also be linked to and impacting our estrogen levels, but we sort of mask it sometimes with the use of medications, which again I think there's always a time and place for medication, and you and I always talk about that. There always is a time and place for it, but it's the understanding that I don't think that people actually get when they're being put on these medications that I would like to change.
Yeah, I think it's very important. There are obviously choices. There are other ways to maybe control certain symptoms, and just medication alone is not always the answer. Certain women cannot take HRT, for instance, or
Yeah.
they don't want to. And so there are other ways. There are lifestyle changes that they can make that will help them. Um, Maybe even if you're taking the HRT or whatever else you might be taking if your doctor recommends, uh, making lifestyle changes would only make it that much better and much easier for you. So yeah, we really do need to get this talk out there, and I'm really good that we're doing this today. Really
Yeah.
happy about it. Yeah.
Me too. And then the other big hormone that we have in our body is progesterone. That's
Yes.
the other like
Yes.
other hormone that is related to estrogen, and that also drops and significantly changes during menopause and also fluctuates during puberty. So, and again, like both times, these hormones are sort of having this like like we're in this like crazy trying to figure it out stage, and you end up with a bunch of other symptoms. And some women who are on birth control for a really long time end up developing PCOS a lot of times, like after they come off birth control. That's like a can be a very common phenomenon because a lot of birth control increases your progesterone. and then you're not really ovulating, so your body might not know how to ovulate correctly. And so it can take a little bit of time, and you need a lot of support to kind of navigate through that. Um, which is something that, I see more and more in clients that I've talked to that have gone off birth control trying to have a child, or trying to just, remove it because now they learned this information out of their life, and now they're struggling with actually having a normal ovulation because it's impacted by progesterone.
That's right. Well, and then there's that nasty little testosterone that we all associate with being a male. But,
Yeah.
women do have it too. We don't have it as much, thankfully, I guess. But yes, we have it too. And, if it adds to increased energy and the libido and muscle tone. But it also, if we have too much of it, then we have unwanted hair. In some places, we get acne, irregular periods, thinning hair. Uh,
Yeah.
then, if we have too little, we have a low sex drive. We have brain fog. There are just so many symptoms and so many different hormones that actually play a part. It's not just estrogen, although estrogen is the biggie, so to speak, the
Yeah.
big one.
Yeah, and testosterone also is a big thing with PCOS because that's a lot of
Yeah.
having the extra hair growth,
Yes.
having the thinning of the hair. Like those are the acne is like a huge sign that like people should get tested for that because it could be one of the reasons, it could be one of the diagnosis tests for PCOS, which again is I think becoming more and more evident in our women's population as you know, as people are kind of getting off this birth control and start to understand their hormones a little bit better and having trouble with fertility, it kind of goes hand in hand. And it's interesting, like I know we've talked about the fact that while there's HRT, there's also testosterone for women
Right.
that can help them also through
Right. Right.
perimenopause and menopause.
Yeah. And we're finding more and more that testosterone actually does play a very big part. And they're finding that by just maybe giving certain kinds of controlled amounts, that women will have a better experience going through menopause. The brain fog might lift. There are a lot of different ways that women can feel better just by getting a small amount or whatever the physician might deem is right for that particular person.
Yeah, and you even said that like I think a lot of people with drive, like the drive of like
Yeah.
trying to get things done, and like wanting like you're still not at retirement, like there's still for women to like look forward to and like kind of and have like a full and successful life, and part of that is like waking up with energy and wanting to feel the drive to continue to go. And I know that's a huge can be a huge impact to women's life if they don't feel that. So I know we've talked about the fact that like that testosterone could be sometimes used to help mitigate that symptom so people can continue to feel excited about the workforce and excited to get up every day with energy, or excited to like be in their retirement, have the drive to like travel or play with their grandkids or their family or whatever, what have you. Like you still need it.
You do. You do. I mean, just to backtrack a little bit. I mean, even when you're younger and going through perimenopause, I mean, you still most probably have children around, and you still need to be able to function through the day. You need to be able to have
Yes.
that energy. I know I personally was running up and down, driving back and forth. I had two sons who were quite young at that point, and I felt the difference just running around and taking them to and from their different activities. You really do. And I didn't know anything about
Yeah.
testosterone. I mean, I knew basically nothing about any of this stuff. My doctors were not forthcoming with information. And had I known these things, I might have been more open to doing it. At the time that I had gone through perimenopause and into menopause, there really wasn't much out there about HRT. It was kind of looked down upon. I didn't know anyone personally who had been placed onto any kind of HRT, testosterone, progesterone, anything like that. Nothing to help them. We all just suffered. We didn't
Yeah.
know that there are symptoms that can be controlled just by simple lifestyle changes. Um,
Yeah. I think that though that's kind of like the woman's journey a lot of times, and something that I try so hard to advocate with my clients is that women tend to put themselves last. We're usually the ones that are the last priority. We will put our kids, we'll put our husband, we'll put our family first, and then
Yes.
little old us are just bearing down and like taking the hits and just being like, we'll figure it out. Like it's not a big deal, but it is a big deal, and I think that's like that that I hope that women can take from this, if anything, like you are a priority, like prioritizing your health, understanding your health, and knowing that there are options for you through education, but also Roberta and I are both very excellent at helping people navigate other lifestyle choices from diet to exercise to mindset to empowerment um, to nutrition. All of that kind of stuff is a holistic view of your life, and there's a lot that you can do to support yourself if any of these symptoms that we talked about do resonate with you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just think about how much better you would feel and how easy, well, I shouldn't say easy, but easier for you to get through your day if you learn to put yourself first and learn to prioritize your own health, your own well-being. Hey, I need a time because I'm at my wit's end. You need to be able
Yeah.
to things. You need to be able to say, this is me. I need to take care of myself, and then I can take care of everybody else. I know personally I didn't do that either. And you pay the price. You are ragged, you are tired, you can become irritable. And then if you're dealing with your perimenopause, menopause symptoms, and you have these other additional stresses in your life, it becomes very difficult. We absolutely need to share with women that you are entitled. You should be putting yourself first. Um, and Erica and I, we talk and we work a lot with women going through these different times. We try to
Yeah.
make it easier for them and make it so that they can get the support that they need to understand that they are not alone. We all go through, all women, all people born as females go through this particular time of their lives. You're not unique, you're not strange, and it's not an illness. But we all
Mm.
experience the symptoms in different ways.
Yeah. And I hope that also from one of my big goals is to talk about a lot of this stuff, even with women that are not quite at perimenopause, because what
Yes,
we do
yes,
so early on in our life, the more education that you can
yes,
have, the more understanding that you can have, and the more prioritizing again of yourself then. I didn't prioritize myself until I started doing a lot of this work, and I saw I was such a career focused person from like the corporate, and I was hustling and that whole like rushing woman's hustle mentality, and my health tanked, like just tanked. I got diagnosed with like hyperthyroidism or hypothyroidism, and they wanted to put me on medicine, and I was like, no, like I need to that's no, I need to change. The answer is not medicine. I need to like look and have like a deep
yeah,
conversation with myself because obviously I am not prioritizing me. And through a lot of this work, now here I am, very happy um woman who no longer has that issue. And because it takes hard work, but you can do it. But it is a lot of dedication to yourself. It's a lot of dedication to, what it is that your body needs and respecting that. And I think the first step is to get educated. The first step is to understand what is going on, what your hormones are,
right,
how they affect you.
right,
If you're
right.
experiencing stuff and symptoms, like not taking it at surface value and trying to dig a little bit deeper. And that digging of deeper can be hard. Um, but that's what the beauty of having people like Roberta and I around is that we can make it a little bit easier and a little bit more comfortable, and find ways to support you in that doesn't feel like you're totally changing your life. Like no one wants to do a 180 on their life, but through small changes and you know, um, small moments, you can really support these hormones that make us function as women.
That's right. Um, we need to talk. Women need to be able to understand that through support. Through support, you can understand what you're going through. Through support, you can become educated. You can realize that you're not alone, and that it's time that we really do. We need to understand that the shifts that we're going through are normal. Maybe a little different for each
Yeah.
person, but they're normal. We need to understand that that going through menopause does not mean it's the end of your life. It's the end of your reproductive life, but your productive life still remains. You can change things to make yourself more self-satisfied, to understand that you are important, that you have a lot of good years ahead of you to be productive, to participate in many different events, to enjoy your family, to enjoy yourself, to enjoy just life.
Yeah.
So it's very important.
Yeah. And I feel like on that, a beautiful note, Roberta. I feel like we can wrap up from today. This is part one. As I said to everyone, we'll have another part two where we'll be kind of going through some myth busting from years of puberty all the way up through menopause and
Yes,
sort of talking about
yes.
some of the misinformation that's out there. So please join us. We don't have an exact date for you quite yet, but it will happen. So please keep tuned. We will definitely get that out to you as soon as
And
possible.
thank you for
Thank you.
joining us.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us. And we'll see you next time. Have a good rest of your Friday and a happy
Yeah, and
Memorial Day
enjoy the
weekend.
holiday weekend, everybody.
Yeah. Thank you for everyone who also served and gave us this lovely weekend.
Yes, thank you.
Take
Take
care.
care.